Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you for hanging out with me today. This isn't my opinion or a internet philosophy. This is pure neuroscience. What neuroscience shows. Neuroscience shows something about the brain that honestly blew my mind. Because imagine how you feel right now. I don't know how you feel. If you feel uplifted, if you feel calm, if you feel triggered by tomorrow's day of work, or if you feel triggered by your life, or if you feel trapped by your life, whatever. It doesn't matter how you feel right now, whether you feel good, whether you feel bad, what your thoughts are. This is something that neuroscience shows that honestly blew my mind. And I felt like I need to share this. So, to feel calm, to think clear thoughts, okay, your brain actually needs a huge amount of energy. When the energy, before I'm going to explain more, when the energy is low, your life situations, you'll feel darker. You'll feel more dark about your situations, your life. Your brain will start to interpret it in a more dark way, and your thoughts will sound more dark. When the energy is balanced, the thoughts about your life can become more clear, more calmer. And without you even pushing, your brain might be even better, not automatically, to automatically somehow solving some problems, automatically figuring it out. I'm not saying that it will magically figure it out. I'm just saying that it has more energy to figure it out. And listen, exploring our thoughts and feelings and emotions is really mind blowing. But today's hangout with you is a different universe. Because this isn't a philosophy, this is pure neuroscientific knowledge. This is verified knowledge. You can study this type of knowledge even in college or find in verified scientific encyclopedias. So let's start, okay? So, like I said, to feel calm, to think clear thoughts, your brain actually needs a huge amount of energy. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns about 20% of all the energy your body produces. Let that sink in. 2% of your body weight, but it burns about 20% of all the energy your body produces, which is crazy and mind blowing. But okay, let's go further. So this means that this tiny organ called brain in your skull is basically a little energy monster. Billions of neurons are constantly firing electrical signals. Brain's neurons are constantly firing electrical signals. Billions. They push tiny charged particles like sodium and potassium back and forth to create electricity. So they release chemicals like dopamine for motivation, serotonin for mood balance, GABA to calm the brain, glutamate to activate brain circuits. All of this is happening every second, which means something fascinating. Feeling calm and emotionally balanced is actually a well-powered brain state. When the brain has enough fuel, those systems work smoothly. When the brain runs low on energy, those signals can become unstable. Thoughts can become louder. Your life can become louder. It feels like you can have any thoughts imaginable. It's your private thing, what types of thoughts you have and what types of feelings you have. But imagine your darkest thoughts about your life, or let's say, so when the brain runs low on energy, those signals become unstable. You can start to have darker interpretation of your life. Suddenly, you can start to compare yourself towards others, and it can hurt you, like they're living life whilst they're living better in a way where they actually enjoy their life. People, they have social life, but you don't. Anything possible, literally any thought, whether financial pressure, work pressure, family pressure, if you will, anything possible, any thoughts possible, any feelings possible. Suddenly start thinking about loneliness problem, which is crazy. So when the brain runs low on energy, those signals can become unstable, and emotions can feel heavier, even thoughts. The brain's power supply changed. So how do we feel this power-hungry brain, you might ask? Your brain mainly runs on a few simple biological fuels. Very mundane, maybe even boring. Number one is stable food energy. Your brain runs primarily on glucose, which comes from food, and glucose is an enormous fuel. Without enough fuel, neurons struggle to fire properly. This is why being very hungry can make people irritable or anxious or angry. Number two is oxygen. Brain cells constantly need oxygen to produce energy. So when you don't have enough fresh oxygen, your brain isn't fueled enough. Even simple things like deep breathing or walking outside increase oxygen supply to the brain. Both can help, even though it sounds extremely boring. They actually change. They actually power the brain more by deep breathing, helps the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Walking outside increases oxygen supply and fresh oxygen, so your brain gets more energy and therefore you feel better. You can feel better because it has more energy. Number three, sleep. Sleep is when the brain refuels neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Sleep sounds extremely boring and mundane. Like, okay, I'm trying to sleep. I know sleep is important, but shut the fuck up. It's mine own thing. But what's actually mind blowing about sleep is that even though it sounds very boring, it refuels neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are dopamine is whether you feel bored or not bored, explained extremely simply, and it's much more, but it's also tied to boredom 100%. And serotonin is a feel good chemical, mood balance regulator. Those two alone are extremely important, but they're connected to hundreds of other body signals that shape our thoughts and feelings. So, sleep is when the brain refuels neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. It also clears metabolic waste that builds up during the day. So it clears the brain, which also influences your thoughts and feelings. Sleep is basically the brain's nightly repair and recharge cycle. Number four, movement. Now you're like, what the hell? This sounds boring as hell. But no, it sounds boring, but it isn't boring in its core. Because movement, physical movement, increases blood flow to the brain. Blood delivers what? Oxygen, glucose, and nutrients to neurons. That's why even a short walk can add fuel, can tank, metaphorically, tank fuel to your brain, and therefore your thinking can become clearer, can get a more calmer soul. And it was just some fuel. Number five is minerals and nutrients. It sounds boring, but listen. No, you don't have to listen, but neurons rely on minerals like magnesium, sodium, potassium. As we mentioned before, sodium and potassium help electrical signals, influence electrical signals inside your brain. Magnesium is like a little Wi-Fi that creates a metaphorical Wi-Fi connection around your whole body. So magnesium, sodium, potassium, these help maintain the electrical signals between brain cells. Without them, the brain's electrical network becomes unstable. So the brain is constantly running a massive electrical and chemical network, as we said. And keeping that network stable requires a lot of fuel, which means something very interesting, because sometimes feeling mentally heavy does mean that your brain doesn't have enough fuel. And I know it sounds absurd, but this isn't a philosophy, this is neuroscience. So it's crazy, but it works, and it's 100% true. And maybe you can even find your own examples when that fuel was lower, you felt worse, but when that fuel was better. It sounds absurd, but it's neuroscience. Feel free to hang out with me even more in other videos and explore our feelings and thoughts and emotions. But absolutely no pressure, don't feel like you have to. Take care, especially take care. I wish you so much joy, strength, and resilience in this strange, unequal world. And I can't wait to catch you soon.